All right, everybody, let's get into the haves and the have-nots review. I'm posting this a little bit later than I usually like to post it, but um, I decided to watch the episode again this morning just so I take the notes that I usually take, which make for a better review because it's so hard to remember everything that goes on in this show just from memory. So I gotta take notes because there's a lot going on in all these episodes. So we start out with Hanna and Benny at his new house, and she's still skeptical about everything. She says, "This came so fast," she said. "It's like a fast woman. If you get her too quick, she may not be worth keeping." Then Hanna goes, "Speaking of nasty women, have you seen Veronica?" I love that line. Probably my favorite line of the episode and one of my favorites from Hanna. That was just great. Benny says he hasn't seen her, but of course Hanna knows that Benny isn't telling the truth. So he goes on, admits it, and yeah, she came by the tow yard. She had some paperwork for me to sign, and Hanna just flat out asked, "Are you having sex with that woman again?" And Benny says, "I'm not talking about this with you." He tries to dance around the issue, and he's like, "You're a grown man messing around with a grown ass married woman." And in short, she's just saying that's not right. You're old enough to know better that you shouldn't be doing that. And Benny, he's not really coming up with a good excuse for messing with a married woman. He's like, every time she comes around, she's throwing it at me. I'm a man. What am I supposed to do? And Hanna says, send her ass on. Say no. And, that excuse from Benny really is not a good one. I mean, he knows she's married, and just because he's a man doesn't mean that he can't say no when the situation is like it is. I mean, you don't be messing with nobody that's married. It's just not right. So from there, Hanna just she basically asked him if Veronica is paying for everything. The tow yard, the house, all of that. And he gets all indignant and says, "What are you trying to say? I'm a gigolo. I'm a gigolo." And she's not. She's not. And Hanna's not buying Benny's excuses. No matter how indignant he becomes, she's not buying his excuses. She knows something's going on here, and she's of the mind that it has to do with Veronica. It's Candace who was providing all this, but Hanna's zeroing on Veronica. She tells him, "Boy, I got the Holy Spirit in me. You can't get nothing over on me. So I know something right here." He asks her if she's coming home tonight, and she says, "No, I'm going back to my house." So Hanna has shut this one down completely about staying in this house. So Benny finally just gets mad and says, "Ain't you got somewhere to be?" And I'm surprised Hanna didn't read him for that, talking to her like that. But she just said, "Yeah, I'm gonna go see Q. I gotta go to work." So over at the Crier Mansion, Catherine looks in on Wyatt, but she finds that he's gone. Jim doesn't know where he's at, and so Catherine, she also asks him about why he attacked Veronica, and Jim says because she's a crazy bee. But he won't tell her why. But he won't tell Catherine exactly why he attacked her. So Catherine calls Veronica and she apologizes to her for what happened with Jim, and Veronica's like, "That's all right." And Catherine should know something is very wrong here because Veronica is just like dismissing it too easily. How are you going to dismiss somebody choking you that easily? And I felt like Catherine was setting Veronica up for something because she invites her over for tea, and Catherine's looking around. She seems kind of sneaky about it. I think it was just that Catherine was trying to get to the bottom of what happened with Veronica. It makes no sense why Jim choked her. I mean, at least from Catherine's standpoint, because Catherine doesn't know why Jim did it. Of course, we, the viewers, know because Veronica set that whole thing up with Wyatt in the jail, and Jim knows that as well. So we go over to Wyatt and Jeffrey. And out of the blue, Wyatt asks, Jeffrey, did you have sex with that guy? And Jeffrey's like, yes. And then Wyatt goes, that is disgusting. And Jeffrey's like, what is it to you? And he says, that's two guys. It's disgusting. How could you do that? And, they have this whole conversation, and Wyatt gets into, like, you just want me to get drunk, and so you can seduce me, and all this stuff, and blah, blah, blah. And Jeffrey tells him, well, I'm gay, and you need to accept it. And Wyatt says, well, I'm straight. That's just the way it is. Your fantasy isn't going to happen, Jeffrey. Basically, that's what he says. And so, what else where did the conversation go from there? And, okay. And so Jeffrey says, well, why do you always call me? Why do you always call me? Wyatt says, you are my friend. That's why I call you. And Jeffrey, he's of the mind like, well, if I'm your friend, you need to act like it. You need to respect me. And I'm gonna sidetrack a little bit here because I remember in the first season, Jeffrey was not that respectful of Wyatt. He pulled a lot of stunts to get Wyatt's girlfriend away from him, to keep her away, told her to stay away, and that really is what led Wyatt to relapse into his drug use and end up going out with that car and hitting those people. So in a way, Jeffrey kind of is responsible for that, but it seems like the writers have kind of their memory has lapsed on Jeffrey's earlier manipulation. Jeffrey was a lot more manipulative in the first season, so now he's being a little bit less manipulative, but I got sidetracked there. But anyway, so excuse me. So why he kind of that kind of gets through to him when Jeffrey says you need to respect me if I'm your friend. That kind of gets through to him. He sits down and he tells Jeffrey I was raped, and Jeffrey's like, yeah, I know, that's what you use to excuse your drinking and drug use, all of that. And he was thinking that Wyatt was talking about what happened at camp when he was a kid, and he says, no, I'm talking about in jail. And Jeffrey's like floored. He's like, wow. And Wyatt is like, how could my dad let that happen to me? And Jeffrey's not really thinking that Jim would let that happen to Wyatt, and he's right. Jim wasn't gonna let that happen to Wyatt, so I'm anxious to see how Jeffrey reacts when he finds out that his mother set Wyatt up to get raped. I mean, that's gonna be, I think, Jeffrey might really go off on her again there. So Wyatt leaves, and Jeffrey tries to get him to stay, but Wyatt leaves. So that's all we see of them. And so here we go over to Candace, and Candace and Oscar's scenes, they kind of drag for me. It's like it's all kind of the same thing over and over again, like Oscar laying it on too thick, um being too close too quickly, like they've been together a long time, and Candace just has completely let her guard down. This is so unlike Candace. She's like, oh, I really like you. I really, really like you. And she's just, she's just doing too much. And now Oscar's about to leave town to go back to New York. And something isn't right with Oscar. And I'm still saying that because David said that he had a plan to neutralize Candace, and I think Oscar is it. So we will see how that goes, since there's like 2 more episodes left of the season. So season finale is coming up quick. So 1 episode left before the season finale. Season finale is in a couple of weeks. So we're really getting down to the nitty gritty now. We're gonna find out what Oscar really is up to. So Benny, back at his house, he notices that Hannah's car is still there. He calls her up, finds out that she rode the bus despite the bus stop being 3 miles away. She walked over there to catch the bus to the hospital, and I'm like, I can understand Hanna being so, you know, apprehensive about the situation, doubting doubting the legitimacy of the situation, but as poor as Hanna is, she don't need to be looking no gift horse in the mouth. So, but that's what she's done. So she's over there at the hospital, and Benny still kind of tries to convince her to come back to his house because Quincy's gonna be looking for her at her house. And she says, "I'm not afraid to go back to my house." And Benny says, "Okay, well, I'll just come over with there with you, so you'll be safe." Now, Hanna can't go back to her house because the next scene really kind of like, it was so over the top. Not that I'm complaining because I like over the top. It was crazy. So we see Quincy driving, and then he starts yelling, "Oh!" like the Hulk or something. And then we see Hanna's house, and he drives the car right through Hanna's house. And then he gets out of the car, out of the wreckage of the from the wreckage of the house, out of the car. He gets out and is yelling, "I got you, Benny!" Like some conqueror or something from the 13th century. I mean, it was or from the 1300s. Just hollering like that, and he's staggering away, and then the house blows up, and he starts to speed it up a little bit. So Hanna's house just went up in flames. I mean, there's nothing in that house to be salvaged. And so now we move on to Jim at the campaign office. Maggie is trying to get him to read the speech she wrote for him to drop out, and he's just being all sorts of difficult. He just starts talking real vulgar. Somebody's horny. He wants to bend Maggie over the desk. He wants her under the desk, and she just is not having it. And finally, she just says, "Okay, I can't deal with it," and gets up and leaves. Because Jim was just determined to be uh, disgusted and filthy at that point. Because like I said, Jim doesn't even give a care anymore. Can't run for governor. He's lost one of his children. Another one of them has been violated in prison. And he's got two others that just don't know anything about him at all. And the eldest of which can't stand him. So he just is in I don't give a care mode. And now we see, let me check my notes. Now we see Benny going over to Candace's job, and he walks down the hall and goes to the office that Candace showed him that was supposed to be hers. And he looks at it, and he looks at the door, and it's a completely different name on the door. And one of the ladies in the office looks at him like, "Can I help you?" And he just walks away. So pretty much at this point, he knows that Candace hoodwinked him with all this talk of a job. So, oh, wait. I missed a part there before that. Before Benny went over there, he called the social worker and asked her asked her about Candace's job not being verified because Hanna took that information back to him, and the social worker saying, "I can't tell you anymore. I'm going to lose my job." And so, basically, Benny gets nowhere there, and which is why he ended up going over to the office building to check out Candace's job. So the social worker starts talking to Hanna, and Hanna wants her to let her peek in on Q, and she says, "No, I can't break any more rules for you. I'm going to lose my job. My job is that child's welfare." And at this point, Hanna should kind of back off and let the social worker do her job, because I think this social worker is probably their best bet in keeping the child, keeping the child safe in terms of his best interest. A lot of social workers just don't care. This one seems to care and has been really lenient with Hanna in terms of giving her information and taking her concerns to heart. So Hanna should stop pushing for her to break the rules and just kind of let the process take the just let roll with the process, let it take its course. Now Jim, he goes over to see Celine. They have like a long conversation, and we find out that he was paying her $270,000 a year. Yet she's supposedly living with squalor with her kids. I don't think Carlos is aware of this, because if he was, I don't think that he would be as angry as he was. If so, I don't know what Celine was doing with that money, but apparently she was not bringing up her kids in a good way, and she's just so angry, and she's a combination of angry and desperate at the same time, although her leans a little bit more towards desperate. And Jim just calls her a weak concubine whore and all this stuff, and then she starts begging him, just begging him, and it was pathetic the way she was acting. And we find out the reason Jim ended it between them was because she decided to go back to her husband, and she didn't really understand that Jim's wife and kids came first with him, and she didn't want to accept that, so that's why it ended. But Celine is just beyond pathetic now, so I won't dwell on that theme too much. Okay, so back at the Crier Mansion, Catherine is working out with her trainer, and she doesn't really want to be doing the exercises. And Hanna comes in and says it's noon, and so that was her Catherine's excuse to send the trainer on his way. Hanna and Catherine have a little conversation about what happened on the talk show, and Hanna says, "Yeah, I saw it," and Catherine's like all happy, saying Jim's walking around here like a wounded animal, and I didn't want to be involved in a campaign anyway, and so it makes me no difference. And so, let's see, where did they go from there? Okay, so the personal trainer is leaving, and he talks to Veronica a bit and says, "I'm a personal trainer." Gives her his card, and she's like, "Do I look like I need a trainer?" But she was looking at the guy like she wanted more than training from him. So it looks like Benny's not the only guy that she has her eye on. So that was that, and maybe there's a little bit of something to that thing. I don't know if there's going to be more involved in that. Whatever, I don't know. May have just been a little filler scene, but okay. Let's get on to the exchange between Veronica and Hanna. So Hanna comes in the room and says, "Well, Mrs. Crier will see you in a little bit. She just has to get changed." And after saying that, Hanna doesn't leave, and Veronica looks at her like, "Why are you still standing there? There must be something that needs to be dusted." And Hanna goes, "I'm looking at something that needs to be dusted." Okay, so Hanna, when it comes to Veronica, this is the one person that can really take Hanna out of that whole Holy Spirit sort of attitude and into more of a street attitude. I mean, even Candace doesn't take her that out of her headspace of being a good Christian woman and all of that. So Hanna just flat out asked Veronica, "Did you buy my son that house and the tow yard?" And Veronica's like, "Me buying things for a man? Your son should be paying me for my expertise." And I'm like, "Veronica, do you want to think about how that sounds for a second?" She's always trying to be so smart about everything, and she just said something that just did not fit with her at all. Something that would put her in a league with Candace. I mean, because clearly, if you're saying people should be paying for your expertise, then that means you're an escort or something. But I digress. And Hanna says, "Stay away from my son." And Veronica has to have a comeback with it. Say, "Well, what? You got to have a trump card. When you're playing poker, you got to have a trump card." And then she gets into this whole, try this whole black thing and being kind of anti-black. When y'all playing spades, you got to have spades so you can have a trump card or something. And she's being sarcastic, and Hanna just is not having it. And she says, "There was a time when I would have dragged your ass in that yard and beat the hell out of you. I'm here for this, Hanna." Because, I mean, it adds a more two-dimensional element to the character, because I don't really like to see the character being a holy roller all of the time. Yeah, she's a good church going woman, but I don't want to see her like that every single episode. And Veronica really brings her down to the hood level. Veronica brings that out, and and you know what? Hanna just looks at her like, "I got your number. I got your number." And as I said before, I think there's going to be a who done it, like with who shot Veronica, and I think that little scene there was enough to put Hanna on the potential suspect list. So with the season finale coming up, I'm anxious to see if I'm right in my prediction that there will be a whodunit involving Veronica Harrington. Okay, so Quincy stops by the hospital to see his son. First, he acts all cool, shows the social worker his ID when she asks for it, and then he acts like he's gonna try to take the child, and she's like, "Excuse me, he was abused in your care, so you can't have him, you can't take him." And so he starts choking the social worker. I'm like, "Oh," and the little boy's like, "Daddy, stop it." So he he ends up taking something out of her bag, and I'm assuming that this was the information about where Candace is. And he takes that out of her bag. He gives the boy Q a kiss on the forehead, and the little boy wipes the kiss off and looking at him like, "Get away from me, crazy." And so, um, Quincy's dangerous, and he's got the information he needs to be even more dangerous. I think Candace is in danger right now. So, back at the Clara Mansion, Hanna gets the call about her house being on fire from a neighbor. "Your house is on fire. Somebody drove a car through it. You better get down there and hurry." And Hannah's all upset, and she lets Catherine know that she has to go home because her house is on fire. And Catherine says, "Okay, well, I'll take you." And when Hanna goes to get her things, Veronica's like being all, "I guess we won't have any tea." And Catherine's looking at her like, "Veronica, it's her house." Like, as much as say you don't have any compassion for anybody. And Veronica, "Well, mine burned down and it was nice." And and then tells Catherine, "Enjoy the ashes." She's just so mean. And so they get over there, her and Hanna and Catherine. They see the house completely up in flames. As I said earlier, ain't nothing gonna be salvaged of this house because it is totally destroyed. And the last scene is Maggie. She goes to David and tells him, "This is just their scene in a condensed format. I want you to run for governor." Despite the fact she said, I think it was last season, that the state is not ready for an African American governor. She says, "I can make it happen for you." And she's like, "Let me take you there, take you there." And it sounded like she was talking about a lot more than the governor's mansion. And David looks like he's actually considering doing this. It would put him on a collision course with Jim, who, I don't know. I'm not sure that Jim is exactly ready to give up this whole idea of being governor. He may still go for it despite the fact that Celine tanked his career. Now, next week, we're going to get some more. I forget what was in the preview. I think we're going to get some. We're going to get somebody shows up at Veronica's house and she's looking like, what are you doing here? Maybe someone's there to shoot her. I don't know. But we'll see what happens next week. I'm looking forward to next week. It's a good lead up to the season finale. So I want to thank you for joining me for the Haves and the Have-Nots review. As always, like and comment if you enjoy these reviews, and please join me next week. Take care of yourself and do